name is Maddie Elliott. I'm the Director of Special Events for the Student University Programmers. Welcome to the 8th Annual Last Lecture. This annual event is based off of a lecture given by Randy Pausch, a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. In 2006, Pausch was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Faced with this fate, Pausch decided to present his last lecture to the university entitled Really Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. Although Pausch passed away in 2008, his legacy has lived on through his lecture, which was published as a book in the same year. Here at Rowan University, at the beginning of the semester, students were able to nominate and vote for a professor, faculty, or staff member who they would want to see present their hypothetical last lecture. Please join me in welcoming to the stage this year's presenter from the Department of Marketing and Business Information Systems from the Rowan College of Business, Dr. Patrick Barbro.
All right, thank you everybody. So thank you very much to Student University Programmers. This is a great event, and it's very honored to have been selected to do so. Even though I've only been here 2.5 years, I have no idea how people even know who I am, much less enough of them to vote for me for this thing. But thank you very much. Thanks for everybody. There's a lot of family and friends that came great distances to be here, so I appreciate that. So to start, one, you should all consider yourselves very lucky. And that's not because I'm hypothetically dying and you're going to stay alive. But if this were my actual last lecture, and no, I don't think I'm dying, I'm not that I'm aware of it anyway. But if this were my last lecture, I would absolutely give it in the nude. So, however, since I'm not dying, and one of my main objectives right now is to stay employed, I figured that may not be the best idea. But I did value authenticity, and I took this really seriously when I was doing it, so I figured I'd at least wear something that's more representative of who I am than some sort of suit or something if I couldn't do it nude. There we go. In case you can't read my shirt, this is the shirt I'm wearing. I never dreamed to grow up to be a super cool professor, but here I am killing it. The super cool and killing it, that's obviously for you to judge. But I certainly never dreamed I was going to be a professor, so it's a little bit what I'll tell you about today is the story of how I got here. One warning which I always give in class, I'm going to be using a sort of content or examples that may contain adult content, so give fair warning. It may have some adult language and adult themes, so if anybody's offended by that sort of thing, consider yourself forewarned, and I won't be upset if you storm through the doors or anything like that if you're uncomfortable. So I'll also introduce, there'll be a few recurring characters that I'll mention throughout the talk, so I wanted to introduce them up front. First would be my puppy, Miss Penny Lane. Sorry, I'm having remote problems here. There she is. And actually I'm not really going to talk about her that much, but I figured people like cute animal pictures. So I can curry favor with the crowd by just starting with a picture of Penny. Also my wife, Mary Beth, is in the front row here. Wait, say hi. Thank you for coming. So it's, you can't see her in the front row, this is what she looks like. We're being classy. More often than not, though, we're not being that classy. Maybe more likely to find her in 80s garb or hanging out in Dewey Beach. So thanks for coming. Mary Beth's been with me the whole way. And I appreciate everything you did. And she was very good at staying out of my hair when I was losing my mind for the last few weeks trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. There's also my father on the other side in the front row here, Don. That's what he looks like if you can't see him. But more likely to see him somehow like this. My father keeps telling me that he's going to show up in one of my classes one day dressed in full pirate gear. So he hasn't done that yet. I warned him at least go carry around a sword. I don't want you to get arrested or anything. So he hasn't done that, but he did show up in my class one time last semester. He was wearing his Make America Great Again hat. And he's walking around and he's like, yeah, I was getting a lot of weird looks when I was walking around. I'm like, Dad, you're at a college campus in a blue state. What do you think was gonna happen? So I don't know if that's better or worse than the pirate outfit would have worked out. Also I just introduced Suzanne. I'm actually not really going to talk about her. This is my stepmother who passed away very suddenly over the summer. And since she can't be here, she's a very interesting lady and I thought would appreciate this kind of talk. So she's actually sitting stage left. I brought her so she could be part of the production. So what were my childhood dreams? The spoiler, this wasn't one. As I said, I had no idea to grow up to be a professor. But one, I wanted to buy diamonds for my mother and grandmother. Kind of an odd thing for a little boy to be thinking about. Mom, Grandma, I work in Rowan. So diamonds are a little above my pay grade, so sorry to let you down on that one. My mom's also here in this new picture. Well, if you have time. I want to be a professional tennis player. I'm aware that that's not tennis. But I didn't have any pictures of me playing tennis, so I figured some sort of athletic garb would be appropriate. Or more realistically, probably what I look like trying to be an athlete as a child. So I like playing tennis a lot. While I'm not the most athletic person, that was okay for a kid. Then, you can see what that is. I got in a really bad car accident when I was 11. That's what was my right femur. So I broke both of my legs pretty badly, spent a long period of time in the hospital. So that kind of brought the tennis pro career to a screeching halt. So that one didn't happen either. I wanted to open a electrical and plumbing supply store. And I have no idea why. And have all of my family members work there at the store with me. So the light bulb, but I also, unrelatedly, had a light bulb collection as a little kid. Why my parents let me play with electricity when I was like 3 years old, I'm a bit unclear on. But I did make it through. The one that came closest, I wanted to be, this is my third grade class picture. I wanted to be a weatherman. And that actually wasn't terribly unrealistic, and probably the closest one that I came to. I did actually apply to a meteorology program when I was applying to colleges for undergrad, but I didn't get accepted anyway. So so that one didn't happen either. But my mom always tells me a story. It must have been 20 years later or something like that. She was walking through the grocery store and saw my second grade teacher, and the second grade teacher just assumed that I was a weatherman. I was so insistent on it as a kid, she just was like, oh, that's a meteorology career to going. Just like, yeah, no, he didn't do that. So those were my childhood dreams. I did not accomplish them, as you can tell since I'm here. So I want to start and go through a little background more about who I am and essentially how I got here, how this ended up happening. So one of the first things I did when I found out I had to do this, I was very excited and honored when I got voted to be the last lecturer this year. But I was like, as soon as I found out, I'm like, oh shit, now I have to figure out something to talk about. So I did a little research on myself to try to generate some ideas. So I sent out an anonymous survey to all of my friends and just asked them some questions about me and asked them to be honest about it. So I'll share a couple of those. It did help me generate a lot of ideas. We'll share a couple of the interesting results there with you. There were a handful. I asked them to rate me on a number of traits on a scale of 1 to 10. And there was a handful of them that I had very low standard deviation. They're very consistent results that people universally thought I had. I asked people how good of a friend I was. apparently I'm an excellent friend, so I appreciate that. I'm a bit of a selection bias, I probably would have only sent this to my good friends. Not really a big surprise there. How honest is Pat? I'm known for being brutally honest, so no surprise there that I'm very honest with people. I'm also quite fun. That's good. I thought some people might interpret my funness as more crazy or annoyance, but people seem to think I'm generally a fun person. How intelligent is Pat? Apparently I'm considered fairly intelligent. I suppose that's a good thing, being a professor and all. And then almost universally, there wasn't much range on this, I'm consistently considered very mediocre looking. So, if I ever need to clarify that, there's not a lot of variation in that score. I'm apparently a 5.5. So, I can live with that. It could be worse, I suppose. So I asked people to describe Pat in one word. And those 3 words or something similar to it were almost universally put down by everyone. So throughout the rest of this talk, you'll learn as to why I'm unique, quirky, weird, if you haven't already guessed. And then, of course, there's always students who think of you. One who doesn't really follow the instructions and types in more than one word. Intelligent, imaginative, quirky, fun, pain in the ass when drunk person with a big heart. So, well, more than one word, that's probably a pretty good description, too. So asked people what their favorite thing about that was, and I got quite an array of responses on that. Except there was one that did appear multiple times. So, I guess I chose correctly, at least. If that's the most redeeming thing I had, sorry about that, I'd probably agree with that, actually, as well. So, that helped me generate a lot of ideas, a little about my background. So, I grew up in Connecticut with my mom, my dad, and my little sister. Killer stash there, Don. Solid 80s look. Apparently, it was very obvious early on that I was born to go into some sort of business field. So, in the business school certainly seems to make sense given these pictures. Also, apparently, I was born to be a clown as well. So that kind of holds through, and I get most things from my father. So, that's all. Went through kind of normal schooling, managed to graduate middle school. Big accomplishment there. Even graduated from high school. Then afterwards, I went to University of Delaware, which is where I met my lovely wife. Yes, I did have hair at one point. That was our first formal affair together. But turns out I really wasn't a very good undergrad. I wasn't a complete disaster. I would, get myself together so like passing exams when I needed to, and things like that. But I was, half of the time or so, you'd see me more like that. And it was around this time where actually the first time I thought, I really loved being on college campuses. I was like, wow, it'd be really cool to be a professor. But then I never thought that was actually a realistic goal. So it wasn't really good, the whole school thing, and like no one in their right mind would ever give me a PhD. So after graduating, I kind of went on the back burner, took a job in the business world in financial services. It was my first job out of college. And I chugged along doing so for a number of years. My wife and I bought our first house. This is the backyard of our house the day we bought it. So it was a bit of a fixer-upper, as you can tell. But I also knew it was really good housewarming. Apparently they left us, you can see a keg in the background. This is my kind of place. So it was also around this time, I'll go to the next thing first. So working in financial services, graduated, got my MBA along the way from St. Joe's. And it was at that time that I was like, oh, I can actually be good at this school thing if, like go to class and study and like actually try to. So that went really well. Along the way, the story I wanted to point out, shortly after I bought my first house in Delaware, I got a call from my dad, and he said, Pat, I'm moving to Delaware. I said, okay. It's kind of odd, two people, from Connecticut, New York area, end up in Delaware. So it's been 10 years, if I said to you 10 years ago, what would you say if I told you in 10 years we both owned homes in Delaware of all places? And he simply just said, I would have said you're a freaking idiot. But we both ended up in Delaware. So after St. Joe's, they realized I could possibly be good at the school thing. And this whole professor scheme actually wasn't even my idea. It didn't really cross my mind originally. So enter Brian. Brian's also here in the audience in a somewhat tighter version of himself currently. I don't remember as to how we got to talking, but he was looking into becoming getting his PhD in accounting and becoming a professor. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. I'm like, what am I somewhat qualified for to get a PhD in? I was like, I've been working in marketing. I'm like, see if they somewhere's PhDs in marketing. And sure enough, so we found some places. At the same time, my wife and I had also just bought a new house and doubled our mortgage. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, and she's an excellent educator in her own right. However, also not bringing home huge amounts of money on the kindergarten teacher salary. So I was like, all right, this is actually a great idea. We thought it would be really cool to be a professor. Like, maybe we could actually do this. So like, all right, so I'll take it step by step. I'll take the GMAT, see how I do. So I did, and I did pretty well. So like, all right, I'll apply to some PhD programs. So let's see what happens. So I did, and amazingly, someone accepted me into their program. And I'm like, all right, let's see if they'll actually fund me to do this. And lo and behold, one day I got a call, and they said they would give me a funding package for it. And so now I was like, oh shit, I kind of have to do this now, don't I? And I talked to them, just like, yeah, we'll figure it out somehow. And amazingly, we did, and I graduated. Someone actually did give me a PhD, amazingly or not. So America supported me throughout that whole process, and I'm very grateful for that. To take a line from Randy Pausch's speech, his mother would always tell people, is like, yeah, my son's a doctor, but not the kind that helps people. So my father is somewhat similar, and refuses to call me doctor, but will call me doctor. So when I graduated, he had my entire family wear these shirts for the weekend of my graduation. And he's wearing his today. And then, of course, with that, I got the traditional graduation gifts that you give your son after he spends 5 years plus success for his PhD. A duck-headed walking stick and a duck pet dispenser. So thank you very much for celebrating my accomplishments. And then after that, I got a position here at Rowan. So again, that's how I got here. I did achieve my childhood dreams, but now I have the best job in the world and really can be happy with what I'm doing. So what is it about me, or what are things that I do to that has made this happen? How did I go about not actually achieving my childhood dreams? So I'm going to give you some suggestions and tell you things that I've done. But first I'm going to give you some parameters, that context to take all of these suggestions in. Because if you can't handle things along the lines of these parameters, then the suggestions won't be terribly useful. So one, take care of your shit. Pay your bills, feed your dog, clean up the poop, save for retirement, just to be a functional member of society before you start trying to do anything else. So just take care of things. Avoid serious arrests, serious injury or illness, and death. it's hard to really do anything else unless you can cross those things off the list. It's totally fine if you want to get drunk and silly and do something. Just don't get in a car afterwards or jump out a window or things along those lines. So whatever you do, that's avoid serious criminal activity and trying to die. 3, do things that make you happy, unless it hurts someone else. So it seems pretty obvious, but I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily do little things that make them happy. So, for example, I really like nail polish. That's why I got a special manicure for today to match my pants. It's my manicure today. It makes me happy. I like nail polish. I know maybe it's not prototypical for a nearly 40-year-old man to walk around with leopard-print manicures. However, it's not hurting anybody, right? I like it. It makes me happy. It's not hurting anybody else. So if you have things like that, I get especially pumped around the holidays. But it's not hurting anybody, and it makes me happy. So if there's little things that make you happy, do them. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, it's totally fine. Whatever makes you happy. Just as St. Patrick's Day is especially good. Next parameter, don't do things that you don't want to do. People tend to get a great feeling of obligation to do a lot of silly things that there's really no reason that they have to do them, right? There's certain things you really have to do, but otherwise, if there's something you don't want to do, don't do it. It's okay as well. Just simple example, this is my fellow best friends, Lauren and Steve. They're also here in the audience somewhere. They recently had a cohabitation celebration, and as you find out, I'm kind of into chasing down weird restaurants around the world, things that are really good. So we just, in the last week or so, managed to get a reservation at the 5th best restaurant in the world, which happens to be in Lima. Apparently, I had no idea, there's a lot of very top restaurants in Lima. So we're going to Peru for dinner, which seems a little crazy, but I have no objection to flying to strange countries to grab a quick dinner. Here's the thing, people keep asking me, it's like, oh, you're going to Peru, are you going to Machu Picchu? As Lauren and Steve are, and I'm like, hell no. You gotta take this like 20-hour bus ride off of like a cliff off the side of a mountain and then hike around in a mountain with llamas and stuff. I don't want to do that. So no, I'm not going to Machu Picchu because I don't want to. People, think sort of people feel obligated that they would have to do something like that. I'm like, where's we just fly on our own? I don't need to do that, so I'm not going. So don't do things that you don't want to do unless you really have to. And do things that make other people happy, unless it hurts you, right? So the world is generally just a better place if you do things to make other people happy. So I told you very much supported me throughout my PhD program, and had to make some sacrifices on our own to do so. And at the end, I actually got a job. I wanted to do something really nice for. I was thinking. Something like going on a trip, a piece of jewelry, something along those lines. And I'm like, I know exactly what's going to make this girl the happiest thing in the world. So it's Penny from Dogs, and now I love Penny very much. But I kind of like this independent life we had, where we just pick up and go anywhere at any given time, not have to worry about something sitting at home. But this dog makes my life so damn happy. It is worth all of the sacrifices and things that go along with owning a dog just to make Mary Beth really happy. And so I have to pick up poop and drop her off at the dog sitter and things like that. But that's not the end of the world, and it really makes somebody else happy. So things like that are totally worth doing. So just to review the parameters, so the rest of the suggestions I'm going to make, take them in this context. Take care of your shit. Don't get arrested or die. Do things that make you happy. Don't do things you don't want to do. And do things that make other people happy. All right? So keep those in mind as we go through the suggestions I'm about to make for you. All right. So here's suggestions of things I've done that have contributed, I think, to who I am and how I got here today. 1, talk. Just talk to people. We live in this world where we're walking around, looking at our phone, constantly, actually like actively trying to avoid speaking to people sometimes, I think. And I'm talking, you can be complete strangers, go talk to a complete stranger. If you're out at a store, at a bar, or whatever it is that you're doing, just talk to people that are around you. So one, talk to anyone, and then two, talk to those that are close to you. People in your life, actually talk to them. Talk to them about nonsense, but also talk to them about anything deep or involved that you may want to talk about too. Just actually talk, and you'll find it a very highly rewarding thing to do. I don't even know who these people are, but my guess is my dad and I got to talking to some strangers at a bar, and clearly ended up having a good time. So one example, but two, recently down the street by my old house, opened a record store, like a real old-timey record store. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I really like supporting local businesses, and my wife and I just decided that we're going to start getting records and playing them. So the first time we go in there together, there's people walking around the store just flipping through records, as people do at a record store. It's almost as if they're like trying to avoid eye contact with anybody, so they didn't actually have to talk to the guy that runs the store. So this is Rich and his wife, the owner of the store. And of course, me being me, I get to talking to Rich. So really interesting guy. He's very excited about his store, has a lot of cool stuff going on, and he offered me concert tickets. He's like, you do anything December 1st? I'm like, no. He's like, do you want concert tickets? I'm like, but just from talking to somebody, one, you can get concert tickets apparently. But two, and then I was like, oh no, actually, I'm going to be in kind of lockdown mode because I have to give this talk a few days later, and I don't want to have to make any plans around them. And so he's like, oh, tell me about it. So I started talking about last lecture, Randy Pausch, pancreatic cancer, passed away, gave his final lecture. And Rich is like, no way. Listen to this. So Rich is from the Midwest somewhere, and he was on some bridge that has like a scenic overlook in the middle of Ohio. I forget the name of it. But he's on the bridge and got hit by a tour bus. And the tour bus, ironically, was the tour bus of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. He got hit by, and there's someone that's been hit by a car, and fun stories. I was like, wow. He's like, yeah, I woke up on the other side of the bridge. It was amazing. My injuries were like relatively minor. But then for months after that, I had like a constant pain in my side, and just kind of wouldn't go away. So he's a veteran, so I kept going back to the VA, and they just thought I was looking for drugs. But then finally, one of the nurses there was like, I think there's something really wrong with this guy. So they did some more tests and went up to, they're like, all right, you gotta go see this doctor. Doctor's name was Dr. Judge, amazingly. So he goes to see Dr. Judge, and it's like, yeah, you have pancreatic cancer, you have about 4 months to live. So, shockingly similar story to the last lecture piece. So this guy got on all sorts of experimental treatments. He was on like a 24-hour nonstop chemo drip, drove himself to get radiation every day, all sorts of crazy things. And he lived. He's in all sorts of medical journals, and I lived, and now he's doing his dream of being a record store owner. And so I find stories like that and people's lives like that extremely interesting. And the only way that you find those out is if you actually talk to people. So go out and talk to people in any format that you can, any type of people. You're going to find some clunkers out there that aren't really worth talking to, inevitably. Yes, that happens. But generally speaking, that's easy to get away from. Just talk to people. So next suggestion, get geeky. When I was an undergrad, I had a habit of, I would go to parties and just walk around the parties naked. So keep in mind, right, avoid serious arrest and that sort of thing. So there's ways to do that, because college kids are very clever, and would definitely try to steal your clothes while you're walking around naked at the party, right? So there's one thing you can do to avoid that, so you don't have to try to walk home naked. There's one piece of a college student apartment during any sort of party that will almost never get used and makes for a great hiding place. It's the oven. Well, students aren't big into bakers or particularly in the middle of a party, so you just stash your clothes in the oven and no one will ever find them. And they will be there for you when you're ready to depart and need to get dressed up at the end of the night. So I would not recommend doing it in the middle of a crowded bar like we thought would be a good idea at my friend Fraser's birthday. Fortunately, we knew all the bar employees and everyone that was there, so it didn't turn out to be a big problem. But why I think this is important is we live in this world of constant judgments and body shaming and things along those lines. And you'll find that when people are naked, it's actually going to experience the least judgment possible in the world. We have one of the finest new beaches in the country in New Jersey, and it's on federal park, so you can avoid arrest. It's not a problem. It's totally legal. You will find that it is the least judgmental people in the world that are actually naked walking around on this new beach. So the point is here in some of these things, I realize not everybody's going to run out and go get naked at a party or go to the new beach. I would highly recommend it. It's an excellent experience. But even if that's not for you, figure out a way to expose yourself to people. It doesn't have to be physically, but it can be emotionally as well. Let people see who you are, and you'll be able to forge much deeper relationships than you would otherwise. So next suggestion, do something nice. Right? Seems pretty straightforward, but just actually doing nice things for people, one, makes the world better, and two, will make you feel a lot better, and make the other person you're doing something nice for a lot better. And it can be a very rewarding thing, and it doesn't have to be big. So I mentioned Penny before. Penny literally has a wardrobe, which is her puppy wardrobe there, and more clothes than probably I do. But I realize most dogs don't have that, and there's a lot of dogs that have rough lives and have lots of issues. So just little thing that I do, every time I go to Costco, I grab a dog bed. Penny doesn't need any more crap. But so I buy a dog bed and I drop it off at the local shelter on the way home. And it makes me really happy to know that one more doggy will have somewhere nice to sleep, as opposed to on a cement floor or whatever else the possibilities are. And it's a very little thing to do. It's inexpensive, it doesn't take up a lot of my time, and it helps make things better. Along those lines, my father, apparently my grandmother before she passed away, used to send little stories to her kids, like to my dad, that were just memories she had from her childhood or something like that. So when she passed away, my dad decided he was going to start doing the same thing. So I got in the mail one day a little memory of his. That was the last one of those he sent me too. So maybe his memory has failed him. That's the thing that he was going to start doing. Or maybe he just has one memory from his childhood. I don't know. So I got one, and I'm going to read you a little section of it for you today, because I think it represents this do something nice piece of speaking of. So these are my dad's words. I'm calling this story humility, as it is an insignificant event that I think has gone a long way in shaping my life. From birth until I was around 11, we lived on Old State Street Road in Ginderland, New York. We lived in a house that my parents literally built themselves on land next to and given to them by my father's parents. On the other side, there was a farm owned by the Warmers. A down-home family with 4 kids, 1 boy, 2 years my senior, and 3 girls my age and younger. My father was an accountant with GE, and Bob, Mr. Warmer, worked the farm, and did maintenance on the thruway. We were all great friends, which we'll talk about in future stories. Still waiting for those stuff. But this one centers around Christmas, about when I was 8 years old. I recall receiving multiple gifts, including a BB gun, multiple other toys and goodies, as well as the obligatory PJs. I don't recall the timing, but I do recall going next door and asking Bobby Jr. what he got for Christmas, anxious to brag about all the loot I had received. Bobby got a crystal radio kit and a pair of socks and was very excited about it. I think this was the first moment that I had any awareness of affluence. I knew that my haul was very disproportionate to Bobby's take, and for some reason, probably just instinct, I minimized what I'd received and fawned over his crystal radio set. From this moment forward, I grew an appreciation for the simpler things in life. As an addendum to the story, is that my father, the eldest of 3 boys, never received Christmas presents from his parents, but made sure his brothers had Christmas gifts, and always made our Christmases a grand event. My parents would borrow money each December to fund Christmas and then pay it down over the course of the year. Christmas after my father passed was just not the same. Although there have been a few years of late where my wife has created that same sense of Christmas atmosphere that my father created. Selfless in giving, not only in the atmosphere, decoration, food, gifts, etc., but inclusion, inviting my ex-wife, for example, to share Christmas with us and her children. Not many women would do that, but that, in my way of thinking, is the true spirit of the holiday. And I think that demonstrates the selflessness that's likely to have an impact on my children for a long time to come. So, I thought that was an appropriate story around the holiday time. And it's something very simple. My dad was instinctual to him, but something very simple that's very nice that you can do. Simply just modifying what your story was going to be about all the gifts you got, and help somebody feel better about what it is that they got or lack thereof for Christmas. I think it's a very nice thing to do and a good example of the benefits of just doing something nice. All right. So next suggestion, try. Just really try at some things. This coming part of the semester, this is my least favorite part of this job. Inevitably, I really try to be good and post exactly what is going to be covered on a coming exam. Class, I do a review in class, and then regardless of all this, I inevitably get the email a few hours later that just says, it's chapter 10 on the exam. Just try a little bit. Look around, but pay attention to something I say, and just try and figure it out. Put some effort into doing something. And it doesn't always have to be something huge that you're putting a lot of effort into. There can be simple things. For example, my wife and I have tomato basil mozzarella pretty much every day for about 4 straight months when we have fresh tomatoes in the summer. It's a pretty mundane meal. We love it, but it can be kind of repetitive. So I try to make little ways to make it more fun and interesting. It only takes an extra 10 minutes to do something like that instead of just making a little pile. But just try. It makes life more fun and interesting and can be very, very rewarding. So put effort into little things or into big things. It's my buddy Mike, who I often work with. Mike's here too somewhere. I can't see. Hi, Mike. So for years, we would make big New Year's Eve dinners. We decided we didn't want to go out. We'll just pool all that money that we would spend on making, going to the bar or something like that, and just make a really good dinner and get good wine and things like that. So, of course, you can do that relatively easy. You can just get pizza or make something like fairly normal. But no, we have to make it as difficult as possible and really try to pull it off. The most notable one, at one point, we recreated the last meal served in the Titanic for a party of 22. Now, I'm sure it probably wasn't quite representative of the quality that was on the Titanic that night, but we tried really hard. It took us 3 days to make the meal, and we made this ridiculous consommé, or whatever it was. It took several hours to make, and people were like, yes, it's purple soup. Like, thanks, because somebody appreciates my effort. But I like doing it, and I know people do appreciate the effort, so just try. Another thing about trying, the first summer of my PhD program, I was like, I need a job to be able to pay for things. So I really like locally produced food, vegetables, things like that. I find it very interesting, considering maybe it can be a research topic, something like that. So a farm not far from me was hiring part-time help over the summer. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great way to learn about farming and vegetables. It's outside. It's gonna be great. So I go and I'm interviewing, and the farmer is a really good farmer, relatively young guy, is like, so let me get this right. You worked in an office for 10 years, and now you want to work on this farm 3 days a week? I'm like, so I did, and I worked 3 days a week. I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I point that out because Monday and Tuesday it was routinely 75 degrees and sunny, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday it would be 105 and humid, almost consistently. But I went my first day. And working on a farm, the 90% of what we were doing was essentially weeding or picking vegetables. That's really all there was to the job. I was out there in the field for about 2 hours, and I thought I was going to die. I'm not a real physical specimen in terms of being in shape and things like that. But regardless, I had to get up from the field and walk into the walk-in refrigerator and stand there for 20 minutes to try not to die. And I came home and I told my rep, like, I don't know if I'm gonna survive this. It was really hard. But I tried. I tried really hard. Maybe it wasn't the best farmer, but I made it through that entire summer. I lost 15 pounds doing it. But I busted through it because I said, I'm going to do this, and then I put every effort I had to be a decent farmer, and got it done, just because I tried. Next suggestion, have sex, and lots of it, whenever you can. A couple notes about it, though. I'll spare you on a pictorial for this section. And be sure to remember to keep the parameters I mentioned in mind on this one, especially with everything that's going on in society now. But I do seriously recommend that. And a couple things, though. The one, don't ever be ashamed of what you want to do. Whether your preference is men, women, something in between, or all of the above, don't let anybody ever make you feel bad for wanting what you want sexually. There's nothing wrong with that. And also, talk to whoever it is that you're going to be having sex with. If you're into something that's a little taboo or maybe not exactly the norm, that's okay. And you will be shocked how open-minded people will be if you just simply ask them about it. So I won't talk too much further about that, but have sex. Next, go somewhere, right? And people have, you don't have to go all the way to Peru or something like that for dinner. But if you have the opportunity to go somewhere interesting, just do it. For an example, this is how I learned what the word sesquicentennial means. Kind of an odd word, but apparently it means the 150th anniversary or something. So when I was in my early and mid, most of my 20s, we would do once a year what we called man trips. And we would go to something we found interesting, just with a bunch of the guys. Well, the first man trip, somehow we had heard that the Iowa State Fair was really cool. And apparently this one year, it was the sesquicentennial of the Iowa State Fair, 150th Iowa State Fair. So we were like, we definitely have to go to the Iowa State Fair for the sesquicentennial. So we did. Took a couple days off, got to do all sorts of nice little fair activities. We stopped in Chicago on the way, caught a Cubs game, it's a lovely little time. Camped out. It's extremely easy to talk to people here when you're driving around with a Maryland license plate. Because people inevitably come up to you and be like, so what's your deal? why are you in the middle of Iowa right now? I'm like, hey, we thought it would be a good idea. But to this day, we have great, check out prize eggplants. I mean, this is really good stuff here, people. But we have great stories. We meet some nice ladies. They teach us how to make s'mores, Iowa style. And just texted my buddy Jed about it the other day, and the insane amount of little memories we have from doing something like this little trip, just going somewhere, are amazing. Also, it's possible to have a little too much fun when you're camping at the Iowa State Fair. And remember to avoid serious injury or illness. It's okay to pass out in the middle of the day somewhere. Don't do it in a highly trafficked area. Apparently a lot of cars drove over that hill and never would have saw me and just ran over me. And then my friend did something nice and drug me out of the way. So I managed to survive that. And so my other go somewhere story is my bully story. I apologize if you're my friend or have taken my consumer behavior class, as I know you've heard the story before, but I think it's worth repeating, so I will. Those of you who don't know what it is or what it was, El Bulli is, wait a second, this story's a lot to get out of ASMR. El Bulli was considered the best restaurant in the world for a extended period of time. It's in a small town on the coast of Spain, most close to, say, Barcelona. It's a couple hours from Barcelona. And the process to get a reservation at El Bulli is insane. One, they're very shady about it. But essentially, there's one day a year that everyone can send in an email and request a reservation. So the problem is there's only 6,000 seats over the course of a season, and every year they would get about 3 million emails asking for reservations. So obviously it's extremely hard to get one, but you know, I like to try, as I said before. So for several years I had my whole wine club and group of friends. It's like, all right, everybody send in an email at this day. And, you know, it's kind of going to the group Powerball thing. You know, improve your chances a little bit to get a reservation. And it never worked out. And then they announced that El Bulli was closing. There was only going to be one more year. So I was like, oh, well, this isn't very fun. I haven't gotten a reservation there yet. So this also happens to be the first year of my PhD program. So it's usually around Thanksgiving-ish. That's the day where you can send in the requests. So I went and said, all right, check back in a couple weeks and we'll let you know what the day is. I'm like, all right. So then I went back there a couple weeks later and I missed it. It just said, we've already received the maximum amount of requests. Thank you, this is our last year, no more reservations. Like, well, that's not very fun. So I said, what the hell, I'm sending an email anyway, maybe it can slip through the cracks. So I just sent one email, like, I'll take a table of 2 anytime, any day. And never really thought anything of it. So then, a few weeks later, I'm studying for the hardest final I have ever taken. It's this quantitative microeconomics class, and it's just insane. I really didn't know if I was going to make it. It was the end of the first semester of my PhD program. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this thing. So I'm in the library losing my mind. My wife knows I'm really stressed out about this exam. And I get this email, and it says, we have a solution for you. You have a table for 2, January 27th, at El Bulli. I was like, what? That's crazy. And so I called Mary Beth, and she was at school, so she didn't answer. She called me back, and she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, we got a reservation at El Bulli. So I'm trying to block this out because I have to go take this exam now. I passed, amazingly. Well, obviously, I guess. So now we're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? So I have no job, and hence no money to pay for a dinner in Spain. And also, people are actually buying these reservations. Since it's the last year, it's literally the last opportunity to go there. So people are paying thousands of dollars just to buy someone's reservation. And that money could have been extremely useful. But we didn't sell it. we decided to go somewhere. We'll figure out how to make it work. Not to mention I had to blow off the first week of class for the next semester, which again, first year PhD program, probably not a great idea. But we figured it out. And so I planned this that you have to take a plane, then like 2 trains, a bus, and a cab to get to this place. It's very complicated. And so I timed it that we should be able to exactly do it, assuming we figure it out and everything works out okay. If you remember that year, it was January 2010, I believe. Was it 10 until whenever. It was the year we had 3 separate 20-inch snowstorms. So of course, one of these is coming in as we're trying to fly out to Spain. I'm like, if we get snowed out, the flight gets canceled, so be it, right? It wasn't meant to be, it didn't happen. So we're driving up to JFK, snowflakes start coming down, but it worked out. We got like one of the last flights that actually left JFK. We did end up getting 20 inches of snow while we were gone. So we fly there. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, neither does my wife. We figure out all these different trains and buses and whatnot, how to get to where we're going. And we finally get there. We get checked in. We're like, all right, we have to take a cab from the hotel. We're like, well, make sure they're early. We don't want to miss this epic reservation that we got. So again, we can't really communicate with the cab driver, but he drives us to this cliffhanger of a road. Like we think we're going to die or fall off the side of this road, plummet into the ocean, just taking the cab ride up to this place. And we get there, the cab driver says something I don't understand. So we pay him and he pulls away and we're right in front of the El Bulli sign. Then it's pitch dark. We were at the top of the gates, but didn't realize it was like a couple 100-yard walk down a path, but the gate was locked. So we're just standing in the middle of the wilderness in Spain, essentially. And we're trying to have a nice time. We're like taking like a million pictures of each other. We're wearing cocktail dress. It's 40 degrees out. We start to hear weird wild animals in the woods. And we're like, this is it. We made it. We literally made it to the gate. And we're going to die here, be eaten by a wolf or a wild boar or something like that, trying to get into the best restaurant in the world. So a car pulls up and says something to me in Spanish. I say, I don't know what you're talking about. Then says something to me in French. I do understand enough French to be able to explain to them that I don't speak French. And then they're like, how about English? I'm like, yes! So it turned out to be this really nice couple, which we got to talking to. And they're like, do you want to sit in our car? We're like, yeah, it's cool. So we sat in this car with this French couple for a little while. Finally, the gates open, we go down to the restaurant. You walk in, and they're like, would you like a tour of the kitchen? We're like, of course we'd like a tour of the kitchen. And it was amazing, and then the world-famous chef standing right there. You could take pictures with them right in the middle of the kitchen, and it was awesome. So we had the meal. It took 4 hours or so, 42 courses at the best restaurant in the world on the last season it was ever going to be open, and it was epic. So you notice this is the one thing that I haven't showed you any pictures of, other than this one I just stole from Google Images. There's a reason for that. So we figured we're already in Spain. We don't have to be back to class till Monday, so we'll spend a couple nights in Barcelona. So after dinner, we managed to get our way back to Barcelona. We had a great first night. We did a little food tour. It was awesome. Then the next night, like, oh, let's check out. We go to like a little kava bar. I'm like, that's a very Spain thing to do. That sounds fun. So we go to this kava bar, and then we stop at another bar. We're going to grab a vodka at this bar. And that's all I remember until 4 hours later. We got drugged in the middle of Barcelona, separated, and now it's 2 in the morning. I come to, and I'm standing in front of the bar at 2 in the morning without my wife, and have no idea what really just happened. So my concern is finding my wife. So like I was convinced she has to still be in the bar, but they wouldn't let me back in the bar for some reason. I'm not really sure what happened, but they wouldn't let me back in the bar. So like, all right, there's only one exit. I'll just stand here until my wife comes in. Trouble is, the bars in Barcelona don't close till 6 a.m. So I literally stood in front of this bar for 4 hours, waiting for Mary Beth to come Mary Beth never came out. So when the park closed and everybody was out of there, it was like, all right, I guess I'll start walking home, see if I can find her on the way, or maybe she somehow managed to get herself home. And then I'm walking along, and I started to see a pack of 6 women following me, and I'm like, oh man, I know how this is going. So I'm a pretty good traveler in terms of keeping my stuff secure. I keep everything of any value: passport, credit cards, any real cash, money belt, like no more than 2 inches from my groin. So I know what's going to happen here, so I essentially just submit. They throw me into a wall and start rummaging through everything on me, my umbrella, my coat, all my pockets. So I'm just sitting there holding by everything I know is important, and they realize that I'm doing this, so I'm just letting them do something else. And to this day, I don't know what struck me or why I did this. As I said, I remember hearing somewhere that if you yell fire instead of help, it's more likely that someone will come to help you. And so I lied a little bit. I do know 1 word of Spanish. So I'm pinned by these 6 women against this wall and just start yelling at the top of my lungs, "Fuego! Fuego! Fuego!" And no one came, but the makes for a good memory. So after that debacle, I went back. Miraculously, Mary Beth was in the hotel room. Someone had found her crying on the side of a street, and she had a thing in her, the address of the hotel in her pocket, so someone had deposited her at the hotel, so it was great. And the next day, we found our camera was stolen, with every picture we took throughout the whole thing, every single little piece of the 42 courses at El Bulli, all gone, and we were devastated. So we were sad for a couple days and flew back. And I really wish I had those pictures, but here's the thing, not really. I wouldn't change a thing. That story, going to El Bulli and everything about it, was an awesome experience. Having that happen at the end of it kicks it up a notch and makes that a truly once-in-a-lifetime type experience that I actually really value. If all of my pictures are gone, I'll always have that that memory to share with people like you. So again, I didn't achieve my childhood dreams, but I'm really glad about that because I'm here doing this, and I absolutely love it. And some of the things that I think really got me here and that I try to do all the time are all the suggestions that I have listed here. And I'm only 38 years old. That's young to some, old to others, depending on which audience member you ask. But I have done so much stuff and had so many experiences because I try to do these things, that if this really were my last lecture and I get hit by a bus on my way to Landmark right after this and I die, I'm totally okay with it. And that is my last lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Barbro, for sharing your hypothetical last lecture with us. On behalf of the Student University programmers, I would like to present you
Come back.
with this token of gratitude.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
I would like to invite everyone to the lobby for some refreshments, and thank you all for coming. Have a great night.